Hello out there. Hello out there. We're on the air. This is for the guy who keeps leaving YouTube comments saying, Jory, you shouldn't be drinking while you're on the live stream. Says it's bad for his MSA or whatever the fuck it is. Pardon my language. It is Saturday. We're feeling a little frisky today. He or she, but that's it, said, Jory, quit drinking fluids during your show because it's hard to listen to on audio for the ASMR. So there you go. There's a first sip to that guy. Imagine that. Imagine someone's putting all this time, effort, energy into trying to grow the Bitcoin adoption and network. And instead of saying thanks, you say, quit drinking water during your streams. Anyway, shout out to that dipshit. We are live. It is Saturday today. Hard to believe that we're live on a Saturday, but it doesn't even feel that different because for the last 2 weeks, I haven't known what day it is, period. So we are live today on YouTube. What's up, YouTube? A rare one for YouTube. We're also live on a couple other platforms, including Nostr. And this one is titled Looking Ahead at Bitcoin for 2026. So shout out to everybody on Nostr today. Special Saturday show, you might say, and it's going to be a good one. I got a couple things that I want to get off my chest or talk about, and I was going to make 2 or 3 different videos on them, but I figured, you know what? It's January 3rd today. It's the 17th anniversary of the Bitcoin Genesis block, which happened on January 3rd, 2009. And so let's just do a live stream. Let's hang out. So we're going to go through the topics kind of one by one here together and have a little bit of fun on a Saturday. And we got a couple of zaps already to start the show. One from Bad Gal B, who said, hey, y'all, we're doing shout outs. We're doing shout outs to dipshits today. That's right. And Bad Gal B zapped 42 sats and said, shout out Carney. Yeah, that's the... I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I'm glad you mentioned that, Bad Gal B. I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. Not about the Canadian politics, but more so about how we perceive things, how much time and energy we give to certain things. And so this is going to be, I'm going to talk about it here just in a sec. But we also got Yunky who said, hi, Joe, I appreciate your work. I will prepare my Lightning wallet and Primal and zap Bitcoin-friendly people to increase my circle. Thanks, bro. Well, if that's all you do in 2026, that's going to be well worth your time, my friend. Yunky, good to see you. And look at this. Speaking of units of freedom, we got a big zap to start the day. 2,100 sats from our guy, Moravian. 2,100 units of freedom, also known as FUs. Shout out to Scotty Boy, who I believe is probably sleeping right now. So there we go. Good start to the day. Good start to the day. What do we got going on here? We got Sketchucation. Morning, Rich. Afternoon, I guess. I'm going to say morning probably the whole time, just like on Tuesdays. So it is another rare live stream on YouTube, but I did want to get information out there for people today because a couple different things we're going to talk about. I'll get to that in just a sec. Andrew, hello. Nav on a Saturday, yes. Sounds like a regime change. It's a good way to think about it. I don't know if you're talking about Maduro or not, or whatever the hell his name is, but it is going to be, we're going to be doing something a little bit different going forward here in 2026. And I will explain that. Dr. Bailey, that's a new name. Dr. Bailey. That's your new nickname, Duncan. Doc. Saturday, 03 January 2009. And it is Saturday, 03 January 2026 today. 17 years ago, the very first Bitcoin block was mined, and the world has not been the same since then. And it will never be the same again. And maybe we'll start the show with that today. I've talked about this before, And Saylor's actually had a really good quote on this. He said something along the lines of everything that happened before, all history that was recorded before January 3rd, 2009 will be considered bullshit at some point in the future. And I really believe that myself. I subscribe to the theory that the whole world, the way we do everything and the way we record history changed January 3rd, 2009. And I think my theory is that anything before that, any records, information, documentation, whatever it is, before that date in history will be considered unconfirmed. And anything that happened after that will be considered confirmed, just like a Bitcoin transaction. The Hick, Jake, over in Noster is up 33 units of freedom. Thank you, Jake. Good to see you, my good man. We should tell Noster that we're live. How about that? We'll take a quick second here. A quick sec. And I missed Sins again on here. Damn it. I see them on my Amethyst. Sin said 18 on a Saturday. Let's fucking go because fluids. For the dude that put the ASS and ASMR. Thank you, Sin, with a 18 and a 45 sad zap. Yo, Noster, we are live. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're not on Noster yet, that should be your number one priority for 2006. Get your ass onto Noster. It is the best place to hang out on the internet. Tim Bainbridge. Hi, Jor. Saturday. Good to see you, my friend. Bitcoin, not crypto. Stay thirsty. Yeah. Cheers to that guy once again. I'm going to take some extra large sips today. Some extra loud. With those at the end too. Good to see you, Forrest. Forrest, my man, my co-host, my partner in crime. Bitcoin, not crypto. Do you think it's possible that Bitcoin priced in this new conflict? Do you think it's possible that Bitcoin is priced in this new conflict with Venezuela? Is it priced in? I mean, Bitcoin to me is incredibly, laughably, criminally underpriced right now. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit today. So I do not believe it's priced in. I don't know if it should be higher, lower, anything, but Bitcoin is incredibly, incredibly mispriced. So let's actually start with that today. Let's start to see what we're going to be talking about on the show today. I got a little agenda prepared. So happy January 3rd. It is the 17th anniversary of the Bitcoin Genesis block. So we're going to look back to look ahead a little bit, see what happened this year and what it means. We're going to give our last ever fiat measurement on the show. What the hell does that mean? And the official new measurement. So speaking of that, let me put this up right now. Let me throw this up here for today for a little bit of pizzazz. There it is. This is the last ever fiat measurement for the show. What's going to be the new measurement? I don't know. We'll see. What is Bitcoin really worth? That's what we're going to be talking about. That's kind of the main focus today. And I'm also going to share my theory on quantum and its impact on Bitcoin. So you guys want to stick around for that one. I think, I don't know. Here's the thing about like talking about things on YouTube is I just listen to so much stuff in Bitcoin. Like I spend the majority of my days listening to different things in Bitcoin. And so it's possible that I heard this from somebody else, but I don't think that I did. I think that this theory that I'm about to tell you about quantum and Satoshi and Bitcoin, it kind of stemmed from a bunch of different connections through conversations I've listened to, but you guys will have to correct me if I'm wrong there. If anybody has already mentioned this theory, then we'll give credit to them. It is the last day to join Bitcoin School. The price today is $8 per month. We're starting Bitcoin School. We started on December 31st, 2025. So we've had day 0, day 1, day 2, and today is going to be day 3 on Jan 3. And the Bitcoin School is the new course that we're doing, the next iteration of 365 Days of Bitcoin. So I'll talk about that a little bit more later. And I got this new thing here too. Join my Lightning mailing list. So we're going to discuss that at some point here during the show. So that's the agenda. That's what we're working with. Let me take this down. All right. Anybody in the chat? I saw a bunch of comments here. I would say just this guy, but just don't pay any sort of attention to him. They don't even deserve to have any attention to them. So that'll be the last time we talk about whatever his or her name is. Sin Diesel says, "Danger, my Zap's not showing up." No, they're not on Zapstream, but I did see them here on Amethyst Sin. So thank you, my friend. And look at this. We got BitBilly TM8. BitBilly TM8. Haven't seen BitBilly for a while. Good to see you, my friend. Happy New Year. Happy Saturday. Damien says, "Why do you guys have beef with Ledger? I bought one of their wallets a couple of months ago. Seems fine." I mean, you don't have to listen to me. Take my advice. I use one Bitcoin hardware device, and that's Coldcard. Is it a little bit more expensive? Yes. Is it a little bit more difficult to use in a Ledger? Yes. But it's not too difficult. I would say that Coldcard is extremely, extremely easy to use. You don't have to be a rocket science to know how to use a Coldcard. It's pretty straightforward. It just takes a little bit of time, and that's the whole ethos in Bitcoin is you have to put in a little bit of work. And kind of on that note, I will say this. I'll say people, as we head into the new year here, as we get further and further down the road and more time passes in Bitcoin, you kind of got to ask yourself, where are you? You kind of have to know where you are in terms of like your knowledge, in terms of your stack, in terms of your security. And so we're kind of at a point now in the internet and in the world where you can pretty much get access to any information you want in seconds for free, like never before. And keep in mind that this is going to be the worst that AI is ever going to be today. It's the worst it's going to be. So you kind of have to ask yourself, is like, if you are somebody who's looking to become more educated, I guess, in Bitcoin or improve your security, you have to ask yourself how much time you have, because you have to make an investment either way. And I'm talking about the Ledger question here, because if you would have taken 5 minutes of your time and just looked into the problems with Ledger yourself, again, for free, you would have seen why you shouldn't buy a Ledger, why you should buy something else instead, why you should have an air-gapped wallet instead, why you should use a device that's open source with secure elements inside of it. So you really just have to take inventory on yourself and say, I need to learn more about Bitcoin. I need to improve my security setup. So you have to ask yourself, how much time do you have? How much time do you have and how much money do you have? Because that's kind of how you decide your direction. If you have tons of time, but not a lot of money, that's where you can pretty much learn. So let's go through that. There's like kind of 3 categories here. Lots of time. Oh, what did I do? Lots of time, not a lot of money. So this is kind of where you just go through it yourself. You use AI, you use the tools that are available for free. It's possible. It's possible to learn this stuff kind of on your own. It's very possible. It's just how much time do you have to allocate? How much time do you have away from your job, your business, your family? How much time do you have available? So medium amount of time, medium amount of money. I'd say that's category 2. And something like that, I would say you could go through. What I would recommend to that is sign up for Bitcoin School. If you have some time, if you have about 10 or 15 minutes a day that you can allocate to learning about Bitcoin, then you could do this. It's $8 a month right now for the Bitcoin School. So it's not like you need a huge amount of an investment here. It's going up. The price is going up tomorrow. That's why I wanted to do, partially the reason for the show today was to remind people about that. And then you have lots of time, medium amount of time, and no time available, or low time available, but lots of money. So this is somebody who's like a professional, working a career. They have a family. They don't have a lot of time, but they have a lot of money. And that's where it's probably best to sign up for a one-on-one kind of customized setup, because then you can just kind of, you don't have to dig through the weeds. You can kind of have a clear path forward. It's going to cost you more money, obviously, but that's just kind of what you have to ask yourself. Which one of these three are you? And then kind of go from there. But the most important part is you actually have to put in the work. Either way to be serious in Bitcoin, you do have to make an investment, and it's either of your time or it's of money. You can't shortcut it. Okay, I'm going to skip the majority of this talk. Unfortunately, I might just block him because he's just kind of ruining the show today. Don't even bother arguing with him. There's no winning against people like this. There's no winning against people like this. Nav says, I'm kind of mad price didn't drop with this war. I just got some cash ready to buy sats. I bet it'll drop once I buy. Yeah, that's usually how it goes. That's usually how it goes. There's so much information, it's tough to separate from the BS from the facts. I agree. I 100% agree. I know what you're saying, Damien. That's exactly what I was saying here. It's like if you have lots of time, but not a lot of money, you can siphon through that, or you can try. You can try your best to siphon through it. There is a lot of stuff. That's a problem. Is like there's a lot of information, but none of it's like tailored to you. None of it is verifiably that you can trust. You have to kind of do that on your own. So if you have lots of time, but not a lot of money, then you can kind of go through Bitcoin yourself. But if that's kind of how you feel, that's when I was suggesting joining something like the Bitcoin School or the Maple Bitcoin School. Something where you can join, you can pay a little bit of money per month, but you can kind of go through organized content library. And there's a lot of stuff that I have on Bitcoin School that's not available on YouTube. There's a lot of stuff that we have in the Maple Bitcoin School community that's not available on YouTube. It's exclusive content on there. And then, of course, if you don't have time to go through any of that, then you just hire somebody to help you with it. That's kind of the play there. Cannon's in the chat. Good morning, Cannon, or good afternoon. Sorry, Kevin. Good afternoon from Lakeland, Florida. Okay, there's too many questions here. I should probably just block this dipshit, but I don't want to even give him that. Oh shit! Sorry, wrong one there. Maple Bitcoin School helped me set up cold storage. See, there you go. It's very tailored information there. It's tailored. So you have an infinite amount of resources and information out there. A lot of it's free. But yeah, if you want to just cut through some of the BS, then I would recommend kind of signing up for that. Okay, so let's go through this together here. Let's start with looking back to look ahead. So let's see. I want to start with a quote from, I think it was Steve Jobs. There it is, right there. So this is what Steve Jobs said about looking back. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So what I want to do next here is actually want to ask, I'm out of credits on my Maple account. I think they reset in 2 days from now. But I want to go through this just to kind of see where we are in 2026 right now. So let's say, what are the, oh, we're frozen. What are the top 10 bullish moments in Bitcoin from 2025? Hey, where'd my banner go here? There we go. Took me off. Okay, Ginger's here. Good morning, Ginger. Hard to see real people here through the noise. All right. So a couple things happened. We hit a new all-time high in 2025. Bitcoin broke over $100,000 USD and then set fresh highs in 2025. Briefly surging past 111, and then it got to 124,000 USD back in August 2025. The strategic Bitcoin reserve announcement. So the US has announced the creation of a strategic Bitcoin reserve in early 2025, signaling that Bitcoin had reached the level of an asset a nation is willing to accumulate and manage at a sovereign level. So obviously the US didn't end up buying any Bitcoin, but I think it makes a lot of sense why they wouldn't. But what they've done to essentially set up this strategic reserve is say, whatever Bitcoin we've seized so far, we're not going to sell. We're not going to pull a Germany here. We're not going to sell these coins. So I would say that's pretty bullish in itself. But the other thing that's been happening throughout the year is American Bitcoin Company, which is the president of the United States' son. They have a publicly listed company. I believe they're public, called American Bitcoin. Huh. Crazy. But even before the new administration took over in 2025, they had been making these different partnerships with Bitcoin miners. And so that's kind of my theory on how this is going to play out. I don't think the US is going to start buying Bitcoin. I think the second that the US government started buying Bitcoin, that would essentially be the end of the fiat dollar that day. They're basically saying, we don't want this. So what they might start doing, and actually I found this interesting as Hodl and Odell were talking about this on What Bitcoin Did yesterday. They had the idea of the US government buying shares, buying a percentage of Strategy. Because that's what a lot of people are worried about right now, is at some point the US government is going to start seizing coins from the Coinbases, from Strategy, from the big corporations in the US. And I think that actually makes a lot more sense because they actually dated, I think they called it a strategic alliance. They bought 10% of Intel in 2025. So it would also make sense to me that instead of printing money to buy Bitcoin, which sends a very weird signal to the market, essentially saying our dollars are worth nothing anymore. We believe more in this magic internet currency than our own dollars, our world reserve currency here in the US. And so I think that it is definitely possible that they could make a 10, 15, 20% investment by printing money, but buying shares in Strategy, who has about 700,000 Bitcoin now. Corporate holdings reach approximately 6.2% of the supply. So this is bullish, I guess, for the price of Bitcoin, even though we didn't really see much action. I think this is horrible. I wish way more individuals held Bitcoin versus corporate holdings, but I don't get to decide. The US spot ETF market passed 100 billion assets under management. So by the year end of 2025, the US spot Bitcoin ETFs have grown their assets under management to about 103 billion US dollars. So that should signal to most people out there that this thing's not going away. This thing's not going away. Both these last three things that we looked at here, the strategic Bitcoin, the corporate holdings reaching 6% of the supply, and the US spot ETF passing 100 billion assets under management. Number 5 is the Genius Act. In July 2025, the US passed the Genius Act, providing clear rules for digital asset participants and signaling a more favorable policy stance toward Bitcoin. Trump's administration's pro-Bitcoin. Everybody knows about that one. I don't think that they think too far into it, though, but I tend to. I've watched Trump's announcement or his speech that he gave at Bitcoin Conference 2024 dozens of times now. And even though he took a lot of shit for that, what would you call it, a presentation or a speech? There's a lot of nuggets in there that he gave. So I think Trump's involvement with Bitcoin is much deeper. This is just my opinion. It's much deeper than most people believe. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of stuff that happened in 2025. It was nice to see all the Bitcoin treasury companies pretty much implode. It was almost too much. It got to the point where just these zombie companies were putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet, taking on debt to buy Bitcoin in hopes of like saving it. So they'd see this huge run up for a week or two, and then it would just crash. And a lot of them are actually below the market value of before they bought Bitcoin. So Strategy, I think, is much different than any other Bitcoin treasury company out there. It's a different beast. And so it's good to see that that kind of slowed down. There was the whole Bitcoin treasury summer or whatever they called it. But it was funny to listen to Odell and Hodl. Odell was pretty hard on the Bitcoin YouTubers that all decided to join treasury companies during the year. His point was that there's more conversation and more, I don't know, hype around Bitcoin YouTubers joining treasury companies than like the Samurai case. That's what he was frustrated about. But I think there was a lot of Bitcoiners, OGs. I don't know if they're OGs or not even, but with pretty big audiences that just kind of sold out to become a board member on a treasury company that's now, not doing very well. So I think there's probably I'm guessing they got paid pretty well for it, but there was a lot of big names in 2025 for recognizable Bitcoiners who joined these treasury company boards. And I'm sure there's a little bit of regret there now, but we'll see how that plays out. So this is kind of a global mainstreaming via indicators and allocation debate. So, I mean, I probably would have added a different list there, but there's a couple. Nothing really changed. I'd say the things that most people are hung up around Bitcoin right now are the quantum stuff, which I want to talk a little bit about today. There was what else happened? Oh, the Knots Core stuff, although I don't think any of the big money really paid too much attention to that. There was the big crash in October that happened, which is still kind of unexplained of why that all happened, but there's a lot of shit coins that pretty much went to zero after that. So that was kind of looking back. And I want to spend a little bit of time now looking at, oh, sorry, I've been missing some comments here on Zapstream. Sorry, Noster. Sats for Snacks, Zap 21 Sats. Thank you, Sats for Snacks. Good to see you, my friend. The Bitcoin Butcher. Hi from Florence, Italy. Thanks for all the great videos. Thank you for being here, Bitcoin Butcher. Is that, oh, I'm having a hard time thinking of the name. Used to be on YouTube all the time. YouTube comments. David T. Good to see David T in the chat over on Noster. Zapped 420 units of freedom for the channel today. Thank you. Okay, where's the rest of our, man, I can't even pay attention to the comments here. Oh, no. Okay, I think they're gone. Good. Good to see. Garja, that's what it was. That's who I was thinking of. Yes. Okay, so you can see here at the bottom. Let me bring up, we're going to do a couple different chats about this here. So this is kind of on the daily show that we do. So you can see it is Bitcoin Genesis Day today. On this day in 2029, the Genesis block was mined by Satoshi Nakamoto, launching the Bitcoin network. Happy birthday, Bitcoin. So this is something we do on the daily show every day. We look at the epoch, the block subsidy, the Bitcoin supply, where we're at, both millions and percentage wise. And we also look at the exchange rate here. And this is what most people consider to be the price of Bitcoin. And it's kind of crazy to me that I spend so much time saying the fiat price is a complete illusion, but yet I give it energy every day by looking to see, here's how many fake pieces of paper you can trade for one Bitcoin today. And so on my show going forward, we're not going to be looking at this anymore. We're not going to be looking at the price of Bitcoin or the US dollar exchange rate of Bitcoin anymore. So as much as I love the time chain calendar, actually we might visit it, but we're not going to pay any sort of attention to this anymore. Because it's meaningless. It's irrelevant. It really is. And I think that it's one thing to just talk about it, but it's another thing to actually live it. And so this is going to be the last show that we ever talk about the price exchange rate in US dollar terms, because it's totally fucking irrelevant. And why do I say it's irrelevant? It's because you cannot value something against another asset in which you have no idea how many units of that asset exist. You cannot value an asset with a fixed and known supply versus an asset that's unlimited in supply, and we have no idea how many units actually exist. It's not even, you can't even compare the two. And so what I want to do instead is I'm going to start pricing it in. Oh, wrong one here. We got to change this to be a scroller. I want to start pricing it in gold. Why is this not working here? No. Save. There we go. Okay. Exchange rate 20 ounces of gold for 1 Bitcoin. I think that's the metric that matters. And it's not perfect because, again, we don't know how many ounces of gold exist. We don't know how many ounces of gold exist at surface level and also buried underground. We don't know for sure, but I think we have a much better idea than we do fiat. So officially now on my show, Daily Show, and every show, we're not going to be talking about the exchange rate in US dollars anymore. We're going to be talking about the exchange rate in gold. So with that in mind, I wanted to do a little bit of an experiment here with, oh, that's not the right one. There we go. So we're going to do a little bit of a calculation here today. And this is going to come in the form of what is Bitcoin really worth as we look ahead here. And it's kind of my theory that Bitcoin is criminally underpriced. And the reason it's underpriced is because nobody actually understands what Bitcoin is. And so if nobody understands what Bitcoin is, how would it ever be properly valued? So I think that that's the first thing to keep in mind here as we kind of do this calculation here, is that the price does not equal value, which means even though they tell us the price today is whatever in fiat, that doesn't mean that's all it's worth. Right? We have to understand that. It's just nobody understands what this asset is, and therefore it's impossible that it would be fairly valued. So I would say like less than 1% of the population understands Bitcoin. Many more hold Bitcoin in wallets, on exchanges, and ETFs. But I would say much less than, let's add a much in there. Much less than 1%, which means it's impossible to fairly value Bitcoin until we reach about, I don't know, 15 to 20%. We will not know the real value of Bitcoin. And I would say kind of the test is whether or not people can explain the difficulty adjustment. Whether or not you can explain the difficulty adjustment and why that makes Bitcoin so valuable. If you can't explain that, I wouldn't put you in the category of people who understand Bitcoin. Because if nobody understands it, how could they properly value it? If less than 1% of the population understands it, how could it possibly be fairly valued? So we're going to look at 3 different metrics here. 3 different metrics. We're going to look at if you believe Bitcoin is worth less than gold, price equals this. If you believe that Bitcoin is equal to gold, price equals this. And if you believe Bitcoin is worth more than gold, price equals this. So this is what we're going to do. And again, I'm not going to give you the reasons why I believe Bitcoin is worth more than gold, infinitely worth more than gold, in my own opinion. You got to do that yourself. I have a whole channel, videos. We have the school, we have Maple Bitcoin. We have a lot of different things explaining why Bitcoin, in my mind, is infinitely more valuable than gold. And I'll give you a couple reasons at the end. But let's go through this right now. So what we need to figure out here is what's gold's market cap. We need to figure out what Bitcoin's market cap is. So I was going to do this kind of before the show, but I figured it'd actually be better if we went through this together. because then we can see the exact numbers. So let's go back to Brave here and let's take a look at what's that market cap? Market cap of gold, Bitcoin. What's the other assets in there? Silver. Oh, it's company's market cap. I think this is the one. Okay, so gold's market cap right now, as you can see here, is 41.43 trillion. 41.43 trillion. Bitcoin's market cap is 2.47 trillion. 2.47 trillion. Okay, so in other words, so how would we do this here? Gold's market cap is 41 trillion. Bitcoin's is 2.4 trillion. So in other words, we need to figure out how much higher is gold than Bitcoin right now. So let's take 41.43 divided by 2.47. So right now, gold as a whole is worth 16.77 times. Holy shit, I didn't know it was that big. I thought it was 10. Maybe at one point it was 10 before gold went on a run here. So gold is right now worth 16x what Bitcoin is. So in other words, if Bitcoin were to be 1-to-1, we're going to start there. If Bitcoin were to be 1-to-1 with gold right now in terms of how the world valued it, Bitcoin would be worth 90,000 times 16.77. We shouldn't shortcut here. Oh, what did I do there? Oh, I put a freaking comma in there. 90,000. Wow. So if we copy that, put it there. No, that's if that's equal. So again, you got to ask yourself this question yourself. Do you think, as it is, everything we know as Bitcoiners here, do you think Bitcoin is worth less than gold? Is it worth the same as gold? Or do you believe it's worth more than gold? That's what you have to ask yourself. And then you can come up with your value yourself. But this is objective numbers here. So in other words, if you believe that Bitcoin is worth less than gold, you would value it somewhere between $1 to $1.5 million, somewhere in there. If you believe that Bitcoin is worth less than gold. If you believe Bitcoin is worth more than gold, then it's anything above 1.5 million. So the next question you have to ask yourself, if you're like me and you believe that Bitcoin is worth more than gold, then this is, and maybe I'll explain why, because I didn't really want to take time to do this today, but I think it's important if we ever want to like clip this or something to kind of explain why, because it's easy for me to sit here and say, yeah, I believe that Bitcoin is worth more than gold. So basically the reason why I say this, that I believe that Bitcoin is worth more than gold, is that if you look at and I'll show the chart here right away. If you look at the graphic comparing Bitcoin to gold, Bitcoin wins every aspect, every one, not just like half of them, not 60% of them, not 70% of them, wins every single category except for one thing. Except for one category, which is time. Because gold's been around for thousands of years. Everybody knows what gold is. And therefore, to me, I think that gold is actually still significantly underpriced compared to fiat, because one, it actually takes energy to make and one doesn't. So you can't really even compare the two. But I would say that because about 90 plus of the population understands what Bitcoin is. Everybody's familiar with what Bitcoin is. I would say it's fairly valued. So the only thing that gold has on Bitcoin is time. It's been around longer. Bitcoin's only been around for 17 years today. And so let me bring up this chart here. Oh, let me bring up this graphic for you. Graphic comparing Bitcoin to gold. Images. It's usually pretty easy to find, but sometimes it likes to hide. I do have like 10 copies of it somewhere, and I wish I would have had it ready to go here. Damn it. Where is it? Bitcoin to gold characteristics. Maybe. There it is. There it is. It's all about your wording, I guess. Okay, so let's take a look at this here. This is the chart that I'm referring to. So we got fiat currency in there. We're not even going to spend time with that. But let's just focus on gold and Bitcoin here. So we got one category here, tied. Even though I wouldn't say these are all one-to-one, like, I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. So look at this. We're comparing gold and Bitcoin. So durability, we're going to go with a tie, equal. Both are green here. Divisibility, Bitcoin wins. Fungibility, tie. So right now it's 3-2 for Bitcoin. Portable, can you hop on an airplane with $1 million worth of gold? No. Bitcoin wins that significantly. That's what I mean. Like, just because it's green and red, I would say fiat currency is not portable either. But this would be like 10 times better than gold, or infinitely better, because you cannot step on an airplane with more than $10,000 worth of gold, I think, and try to take your wealth with you. You can do that with Bitcoin. You could do billions of dollars in Bitcoin because it's just 12 words. So right now we're 4-2 for Bitcoin. Verifiability, and this is probably the biggest constraint that gold has, is even if gold tokenizes in the future, you have to trust a third party that they actually have the precious metals that you have the claim to. So even though you might be able to send digital gold, digital silver in the future, this is where it lacks. This is the biggest drawback that gold and silver and other precious metals have. Even if they're tokenized, you cannot verify it. You have to trust a third party. Whoever's holding that gold or silver for you, you have to trust that they actually have it, and you have to trust that it's legitimate. It's real. So Bitcoin wins, another one here, 5-2. Scarcity. This is another one. Even though gold and Bitcoin are both scarce, there's a massive difference between something that's pretty scarce, like a 2% inflation rate, and something that's absolutely scarce, where at some point in the future, there's 0% inflation rate. And because we've never had an asset like that before in human history, nobody knows how to value that. So that this right here is why I would say that Bitcoin is infinitely superior to gold because of this. And as technology improves, we're going to be able to find more gold, more silver, more everything. As we have better equipment, as we have better robotics, as we have better mapping and land surveying, gold's going to become less scarce than it is today. As technology improves, gold becomes less scarce than it is today. However, gold is stuck in the ground, Bitcoin is stuck in time. And that's why if you understand the importance of the difficulty adjustment in Bitcoin, that's somebody who understands Bitcoin because of that scarcity. And this is where gold beats Bitcoin. Track record, time. One thing. This is the only thing that gold has on Bitcoin, is a longer track record. And it is worth noting that in 17 years of Bitcoin's history, there hasn't been one single transaction stopped on the Bitcoin network. There's been 0 hacks to the Bitcoin network. So it's impossible to value that. It's impossible to say Bitcoin's worth this. And you know what? Gold actually does have Bitcoin in that regard. Because even though Bitcoin hasn't been hacked or there hasn't been a transaction stopped in 17 years in Bitcoin's history, gold has a much longer track record. But it's also failed. People don't realize that. Gold has failed as money. That's why we had fiat currencies, because you cannot exchange gold in an efficient manner. So yes, gold has had a good track record of being a good store of value, but it failed completely as a medium of exchange. So these are all very important aspects here. So what's the grand score here? We got 6-4. 6 wins for Bitcoin, even though I would say the scarcity would be like infinitely times that. And verifiability. This is why gold will not be used in the digital age, because you cannot verify it. Even though you can tokenize it, you cannot verify. So again, even though the score is only 6-4, so just think about that. The score in terms of characteristics here is 6-4 to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is currently 16 times undervalued. Even though the score here that we just looked at was 6-4 for Bitcoin, right now gold is 16 times valued more than Bitcoin is right now. So then just based on that, you could say just strictly at a surface level here, if you don't consider the scarcity and the verifiability and how important those two aspects are, 6-4, Bitcoin should be 60 to gold's 40. So I don't know what kind of calculation you'd put on that, 60 to 40. So Bitcoin should be better by 20%. Is that right, math? 20% better? If you just look at it strictly at a surface level, I think that's 20%. 20% higher. So Bitcoin today then should be worth $1.8 million per Bitcoin. But again, if you subscribe to the theory that I do, where it's impossible to value the difference in scarcity there, even though on the chart there, and this is what most people see, they're like, oh yeah, Bitcoin and gold are both scarce, so pretty good. But there's a massive difference between an asset that's pretty scarce at 2% inflation and an asset that's absolutely scarce with 0% inflation. So what would you say it is? 10x better because of that? 100x better? 1,000 times x better than gold because of that reason? Or infinitely better than gold? It's up to you. I'm just giving you the objective numbers here today, letting you decide. So then if you look at it, if you look at what the price is today, $90,000 divided by 1.8 million, you're getting about a 95% discount on Bitcoin today. 95% discount. Is that right? Or is it even more than that? We'll just go with 95%. So imagine that. You have your favorite product in the world. Whatever it is that you love the most. And on Black Friday, the price is 95% down. Would you look at that and say, shit, this isn't worth what I thought it was? I might have to second guess whatever I've been loving and enjoying and using a lot of. I might have to second guess this and say, is this actually worth this? Or would you say, hey, I get 95% off of this, I'm going to buy 10 of them. Or I'm going to buy 100 of them. Because I know this product. I've used this product. I understand this product. 95% off, I'm going to buy as much as I possibly can of this. So that's what I wanted to show you in terms of what is Bitcoin really worth? Because 2025 was the year of gold and silver. But not many people are thinking in terms of this. Nobody will, you won't see any other videos online explaining this. But it's objective. It's objective, and you kind of get to decide. If you believe Bitcoin is worth less than gold, then this is how you should price it. $1 to 1.5 million. If you believe Bitcoin is equal to gold, equal 1 to 1, that they have equal characteristics, they're going to be used equally in the future, then you would have to say that Bitcoin is worth $1.5 million today. Worth, not priced, because prices can be manipulated, right? And they are. And if you believe Bitcoin is worth more than gold, just based on the scorecard that we looked at there, 6 for Bitcoin, 4 for gold, you would see that Bitcoin is actually worth $1.8 million today. And if you, like me, think that Bitcoin is infinitely worth more than gold, then you might say it's worth 10 million or 100 million, or who knows? So there we go. I only missed 96 comments here. I'm guessing half of them were from one person. Anyways, what do we think about that? Do we agree? Do we understand? Does that make sense? I don't know. Plural zapped 101 units of freedom, said Bitcoin ain't about getting rich, it's about living right. True. And Cannon says, legendary, fuck the fiat price. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Why are we paying any sort of attention to it? So that's what we're doing now. We're pricing it in gold. We're pricing it in gold. Bad Gal B zapped 121 units of freedom and said opt out with an exclamation mark. That's right. Moravian says gold, old money, Bitcoin, new money, fiat, fucking Ponzi scheme. Well said. Well said. And Cannon zapped 420 sats and said people are going to look back at this stream and say Jor's a genius. I mean, it's nothing to do with genius. I'm not a very intelligent guy. I just you can't argue that. You just simply cannot argue that. And so the next part here, and this is the next part that I want to get into, I'll go through some comments here quickly. But anyways, Cannon says, I was a shitcoiner and I was enlightened by the Maple Bitcoin boys. Wow, Metal Detecting England says holding just one. That's it, eh? Just one Bitcoin on your ledger, holding for 10 years. Well, I would say you should invest a portion of that into something better than a ledger. That would be my advice to you, my friend. Okay, what else do we have here? We got just a lot of arguing. We got a lot of our. Yeah, no, it's all good. I understand. It's just hard for me to scroll through and actually find some legitimate comments here. But I don't know if there isn't even. Too bad. It's too bad. Okay, you know what? I'm actually just going to block this guy. Bye-bye. It was fun while it lasted. But it's just I can't scroll through everything here. Yeah. Thank you, Ginger. Appreciate it. But yeah, he's gone. Baller says 4207 Bitcoin heats my home. Well, kind of, right? Bitcoin kind of heats your home. The Bitcoin miner heats your home, which produces Bitcoin, which is also, there's so many different things like that Bitcoin has over gold that you can't really compare to because there's nothing to compare it to. Like you can't heat your home with a gold miner. I mean, you could, I guess, but I don't think it'd be, no, I guess, no, you couldn't. I couldn't. Okay. Bitcoin will have a harder path than gold because gold has a lot of real world appliances. Bitcoin doesn't. Appliances? You mean applications? Make it so people invest in gold sometime. Yeah, I agree. I agree 100% with you. And that's the point that I'm trying to make here is that the world values gold because they understand what it is. everybody's running to gold and silver right now because they're starting to see what's behind the curtain. They're starting to see that on one side here, a small group of people can create these units out of thin air. That's a problem. On the other side, it takes real work, real energy to mine gold, to mine silver. People know that. People are starting to see the difference there, but they don't know that where Bitcoin ties into this. They don't know that Bitcoin is infinitely superior to gold. They just don't know that yet. But again, that's the point that I'm trying to make here, is just because they haven't realized that doesn't mean that you're wrong. That's the point that I'm trying to make here. Lightning payments work on holidays even when the banks are closed. Is January 3rd a holiday yet? It should be. So that's my, I think I might clip that. I might clip that video. I think I might clip that. So what I would ask is, if I do clip that and you see it pop up there, give it a nice little comment, even though you won't watch it unless you want to watch it again, but just leave a comment. Leave a comment exactly what Cannon said there. People are going to look back at this video and say, how could we have been so blind? Just leave a comment like that. I'll post it maybe sometime next week. Okay, so the next thing here that I want to do is I want to showcase this. I'm going to talk about and I would say that one of the main reasons why there's a lot of people kind of not going from gold into Bitcoin yet is, number one, they just don't understand it. They don't know how to do it. But there's also been a lot of like quantum FUD lately by some big, I guess you'd call them influencers in Bitcoin. Lots of questions around like quantum. And so what I'm going to explain my theory on quantum. And I think a lot of people are going to be surprised with what I have to say here. But we're going to get to that in just a brief little second here. I wanted to show you this, though. I wanted to show you this. So let me take this off for a second. I wanted to show you this. This is our Maple Bitcoin School. And today is officially, the date was supposed to be January 1st. But I had a video come out on YouTube today that was talking specifically about Bitcoin School. So I figured, you know what? We'll make the new deadline January 3rd. It makes sense too. So you can currently join the Visionaries community here. I don't want to dox anybody, any names on here. Hopefully I don't. Okay, I won't. But you can see, oh, there's not even a price on there. It's $8 a month right now. And so what you're going to get for that $8 a month is you're going to get access to the full community. There's 120 people in here right now, Bitcoiners from across the world. There's been about 40 people join the last couple of days. So this is kind of the main thing that you're going to get, I would say, is Bitcoin School. So this is a new course we're going through here, where there's a new video about Bitcoin, about 10 or 20 minutes long, every single day. So I made the first video here on December 31st, even before the year started. And this was New Year's Day. We talked about calculating, setting your Bitcoin goal, and we're going to be revisiting that every single episode. The course is officially going to start on March 15th, 2026. So these next 2.5 months are going to be kind of letting people join, getting things ready. It's going to officially start. The Bitcoin School course will start on March 15th, 2026. So basically, after today, the price is going to go from $8 to $21. It'll probably increase as more people join and there's more content added here. So not only are you going to get 2.5 months of like bonus content here, we're going to be talking about a couple different things in terms of like health for your body and mind. We're going to be talking about setting up on Nostr, some tips for that, maybe starting your own YouTube channel, your own school community, things like that. The first 2.5 months here, as we kind of lead up to March 15th, that's going to be 100% bonus for anybody who's here. So again, not only are you going to get the rate, you save 67% on the rate monthly, and that locks in too. So if you join at $8 a month and it increases to $21 tomorrow, which it will, you're still going to be paying the $8. So it's not like you're just going to get one day at $8 and then 21. You lock in at the rate that you sign up at until you leave. So obviously today is going to be day 3. We're going to be talking about the Genesis block and some other stuff. So there's going to be obviously a lot of Bitcoin stuff in the first 2.5 months, but it's going to be 100% bonus for anybody who joins. So you get the bonus 2.5 months, plus you get 67% off. So I would say if you're interested in it, it would be a good idea to sign up today. And kind of the purpose of this, the direction that we're going with the school community, is I want every single person going through the course together. Everybody's going to be in a multi-sig by the end of 2026. You're going to have all the tools, all the resources, all the knowledge that you need to be comfortable, confident in setting up a multi-sig. That's kind of the goal for all the students going through this. So if you've been thinking about like, hey, maybe 2026 is the year I set up a multi-sig for my Bitcoin, I want to take this a little bit more seriously, you can walk through it step by step with other people. So that's kind of the main goal there, is to get every student or every Bitcoiner going through this Bitcoin school course into a multi-sig. Not in a 1 hour session or a 2 hour session. It's going to be over time. So you actually have a really good understanding, and you can actually communicate this with your family, which is going to help with your inheritance stuff. So that's the Bitcoin school. That's kind of the main draw to this, but I have a bunch of like resources in here, a bunch of different folders. This is just going to be continuously added to going forward. So if you're somebody who loves Bitcoin content, and a lot of this stuff isn't even on YouTube or anything, and then there's the Bitcoin Journey course, which I'm going to be adding to as well. There's the original 365 Days of Bitcoin, which you get access to as well. There's Jerry from Jerry Loves Freedom. So all this, this is all included. It's laughable to me because I put so much time into doing this, and it's not even about how much time I put into it. It's how much value that you're going to get from this. So you get all this included for that price. Obviously, the price are going to go up over time here, but this is just kind of the introduction to the Bitcoin school. So that ends today, and I'm going to put the link in the chat for you if you would like to join. We have a lot of there's also going to be a signal chat for all the students who are going through it, or the Bitcoiners who are going through it together. And here's a live testimonial from Marco, who is a lifetime member of Maple Bitcoin and the Visionaries community. So that's the idea there. So you can join that, school.com/88 sats. And if you join today, you're going to save 67% off. And tomorrow you'll be paying $21 a month compared to $8. $8. That was kind of the point that I made. I said, people go to a place like Starbucks and pay $8 for a cup of coffee without even blinking an eye. But when it comes to actually investing in themselves, and that's what this is an investment. Because I believe that if you do things right in 2026, 2027, if you take this seriously, you invest the time, you commit to it, that's going to change your bloodline. That's going to change the direction of your family for the next 10 generations. Having this information, having this knowledge, having the conviction, and having a network of Bitcoiners from around the world, it's going to completely change your life for a laughable amount of fiat dollars per month. So that's the school there. Very easy. School.com/88 sats. And we would love to have you in there. Okay, so let me talk about my theory on quantum here. And sorry, I've been kind of ignoring the, I don't know if there's any zaps coming in or not. I should check. I've been yapping too much. This feels like a Tuesday stream to me. Oh yeah, we just had somebody join the Maple school. Nice. What am I doing here? Resful, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to talk about my theory on quantum. Because again, I think that this is one of the biggest hangups for people right now, especially when they're looking at allocating gold compared to Bitcoin. There's a lot of question marks around quantum. And so I want to give my kind of spin on it. Quantum progress is only progresses in articles. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I want to start it, actually. So quantum computing, it's kind of been the a hot topic in Bitcoin lately. And I've had a lot of people reach out to me and like looking to set up a meeting with me to kind of go through my thoughts on it to see if they should be worried about it. And I've just kind of been saying no, because I'll admit I'm the furthest thing from an expert on quantum computing, the furthest. But there are a couple of things that I do know, which is that if Bitcoin ever got hacked, that means everything else has been hacked. Bitcoin network is the most secure network on the planet. I think anybody who's put in the time in Bitcoin would agree with me there. So that's number one. Bitcoin will have 1,000 different canaries in the coal mine before it gets to Bitcoin. So that's a pretty important part of it. It's not everything. That's not my theory here. But I do want to talk about my theory and kind of how I'm thinking about this stuff. And I spent a little bit of time in the last couple of days thinking about this and trying to come up with the best way to say this. But what if, just like everything else in Bitcoin, this is by design? Which means if you, on January 3rd, this is why I want to talk about this today, because I think that everybody here, even myself, really underestimates and does not appreciate enough how well thought out Bitcoin was, how well designed Bitcoin was. There's nothing that's perfect in this world, but I would say that the way that Bitcoin was written and designed was the closest thing that we have to perfection. So again, if you agree with me there, stick with me here. If you agree with me there, and Satoshi thought all this stuff years in advance, between the psychology, between the timing, the 4-year cycles, and how it lines up with the presidential elections, in terms of everything around Bitcoin, we could probably come up with a list of 1,000 things that Satoshi perfectly executed and designed around Bitcoin. So my question is, why wouldn't Satoshi think of technology improvements? I'm pretty sure the conversation around quantum computing has been happening for decades now. It's not like it just came onto the scene in 2025, right? So why wouldn't Satoshi think of that? And my theory is, what if he did? And what if, again, what if this is by design? What if he intentionally designed Bitcoin in this way, where quantum computing will allow the oldest coins, the oldest addresses, to move when they should, right? Because if Bitcoin is going to be used as we intended and we want it to be used as a medium exchange, it's not going to be very good just sitting there as a store of value. If everybody just uses it as a store of value, the majority of its value proposition is gone, right? So what part of the difficulty adjustment and understanding the difficulty adjustment is the fact that what makes that so special is that Bitcoin is predictable. What makes Bitcoin unique and different? It is 100% predictable. And when things are predictable, you can fairly measure things against it, right? That's the biggest problem, other than the fact that people can create it with zero energy. But the biggest problem in fiat is that we have no idea how many units exist. We have no idea. So therefore, you cannot accurately measure something against fiat. That's why we're measuring Bitcoin in terms of gold now going forward. That exact reason. But the other part too is that we know exactly how many units, Satoshis, exist today. We have no idea how many units fiat dollars exist today. So that's one of the biggest value propositions around Bitcoin, is the fact that it is predictable. We know exactly how many sats, which is units of Bitcoin, exist today. We know exactly how many sats or units of Bitcoin exist in a week. And we know exactly how many sats or units of Bitcoin exist in 100 years from now. That is very special. And that's why I say if you understand the difficulty adjustment in Bitcoin, you understand how we will know exactly how many sats or units of Bitcoin will exist in 100 years from now. Not exactly. Obviously, there's going to be maybe a couple million sats either way at that point, higher or lower. But in terms of today's dollars, that's $1,000. So that's pretty minor. But the difficulty adjustment is why we know exactly how many sats will exist. So here's the problem. Here's the problem that we have right now is that Bitcoin is predictable in terms of total supply, but Bitcoin is not predictable in terms of available supply. Why? Because we don't know. We don't know how many coins are actually lost. That's a problem. Even though we know the hard cap on Bitcoin in 100 years from now is 21 million or 2 quadrillion 999 trillion 999 billion 997 million 690,000 sats. We know that's how many will actually exist, but we cannot accurately measure things against Bitcoin if we don't know how many of those coins are actually lost and how much will actually are still owned by somebody. Because if coins are lost, that actually makes the supply lower, and whatever amount you have of Bitcoin worth more. So where I'm going with this is that what if something like quantum, so then you have to ask yourself this: do you think quantum computing is where it ends? Like realistically, think about this. Not in 10 years or 20 years, but in 100 years from now, can you imagine how far along we are in terms of technology? And so what if this is kind of by design? What if Satoshi designed Bitcoin this way, where that as technology improves and as tech improves and some of the old addresses become vulnerable to tech improvements, it will force people to move their coins, even if they're not moving it to like an exchange, even if they don't plan on selling these Bitcoin. It will actually force people to move their coins or to verify ownership of the coins and to bring us a more accurate supply of Bitcoin. Right. So as people are talking about quantum right now, they're saying some of the old addresses, the original addresses like Satoshi's wallet, they're vulnerable. So what do you think is going to happen? As this conversation about quantum continues to happen, do you think that somebody sitting with 100,000 Bitcoin in an old legacy wallet is just going to leave it there and hope for the best? Really? Because we do know that there's wallets out there with 100,000 coins in them. So $90,000 times 100,000 coins is what? Million. 9 billion. So do you really think that somebody sitting there with $9 billion worth of assets is just going to sit there and hope that quantum doesn't break their address? Because we know here in Bitcoin, or I assume most people know that if you're in a newer address and you practice reusing addresses properly and managing your XPub and doing things right, you're not going to be vulnerable to quantum computing. But the old addresses that have been sitting there with hundreds of thousands of coins, they are vulnerable to quantum attacks. So what's that going to force them to do? Move their coins. What's that going to show us? That somebody out there has access to those coins. So then the other part of this is like, what is Bitcoin? What is Bitcoin? How do you earn Bitcoin? You have to put in work. So if someone wants to spend their limited time and energy, right? Because energy is neither added, created, or destroyed. If somebody out there wants to spend, this could be a government, this could be somebody in their garage, this could be a corporation. If someone wants to spend their time and energy trying to crack Bitcoin, they should be rewarded. Clearly, nobody's put in the time and energy to break Bitcoin yet or hack a Bitcoin wallet yet. But if they're going to allocate their time, that's proof of work to me. That's proof of work to me. And I think it'll actually help the network, because if there are coins out there that are lost and people lost the keys to those coins and somebody figures out a way to crack that wallet, they now have the Bitcoin. It's not like they did something for the government and they just sent them these coins as a reward for that. This is somebody doing real work, improving technology. This is a good thing. It's the same kind of argument as like, is energy good or bad? It's good. Humans don't progress without energy innovations. And so it's the same kind of thing here. I think that if somebody's able to hack one of the original wallets, they should be rewarded with those coins. And it sucks for if somebody out there just like went into a coma for 10 years and didn't send their Bitcoin to a new address. That sucks. But again, it all ties back to this. As technology improves, this is going to be a constant. As tech improves, this is going to be a constant cycle of coins moving, right? Because imagine this. Imagine the year's 2080, and some coins actually haven't moved since 2015. How do we know if those are lost? We don't. Somebody out there might have the keys to those Bitcoin, but that's a problem. Why is that a problem? It goes back to the predictability and accuracy of Bitcoin. And so as the tech improves, this is going to be a constant cycle of coins moving. In order to move faster than technology improvements. In other words, people are going to need to move their coins to escape tech improvements, which means we will have a much better idea of the supply, the available supply, not the total supply. It's the available supply that we need to pay attention to. That's how we value things against Bitcoin, the available supply. So this is my theory on quantum, is that I think it's possible that Satoshi actually knew that this was going to happen. And because as technology improves and they start cracking these old wallets, that's going to force people to move their coins to a new wallet and essentially verify to the network that somebody still has the keys to that Bitcoin, which means we have a much clearer idea of what the actual available supply of Bitcoin is, which means we can accurately measure against Bitcoin, which makes it, again, the perfect unit of account, because we will have a better and clearer we'll have a better and clearer knowledge of the supply, of the available supply. So it's one of those things. A lot of people are worried about quantum. I think that quantum was done by design, but I think Satoshi could have predicted this, right? Do you understand how far Satoshi had to think into the future in order to design Bitcoin back in 2009? So many different elements involved. And do you really think that Satoshi, being who he was, what they discovered and developed, do you think that he would have just thought that they would never find a way to crack those wallets? Do you think that Satoshi wouldn't have known that this day was going to come where technology would improve to a point where they can start hacking some of the early wallets? I don't know. Personally, I'm pretty sure Satoshi could have saw this coming. And therefore he would know that we actually need something like this to happen. Consider it like what would you even call it? Like tilling. It's like bringing the coins up. It's not forcing people to sell them. It's not saying that all these coins are going to be hacked and stolen. It's saying that we're going to be able to see technology coming, and anybody who has a wallet that could potentially be impacted by this new innovation, they just simply move their coins to a new wallet. And by them moving these coins to a new wallet, we can see that somebody has the keys to that Bitcoin, which makes the total supply of Bitcoin, the available supply of Bitcoin, more known and predictable. So that's my theory on quantum. That it's not a risk. It's actually, or it's not a bug. It's actually a feature. It's not a risk. It's actually by design. Could I be wrong? Of course. But that's my theory on it. And I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to it, my friends. Okay, Moravian, sorry I missed you, man. Have to drop off. We'll catch up with the stream later on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great time. Thank you, Moravian. Appreciate you, buddy. And David T's up 420 units of freedom and said, in honor of Satoshi. Thank you, David T. And David T also says, amazing ideas on quantum and moving old coins. Doesn't it make sense? And again, I've never heard anybody talk about it in that way before, or I might have. That's what I said at the start of the show. I might have just accidentally, subconsciously heard this, and I got my brain thinking, but that just makes so much sense to me. And the American Butcher says, the Bitcoin Butcher says Satoshi was an entity from the future. I agree, man. I have a couple videos on the channel here saying that I believe that Satoshi was a time traveler, or is a time traveler. And we got 21 units of freedom from Jeppesen Photography. Happy New Year, Jor. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Did I miss anything here? We got some mining conversation going on. 17 years old today. Yes. Happy birthday, Bitcoin. It's a great point here. No one has been able to control the hash rate of Bitcoin and the orphan blocks. Worrying about quantum is like worrying about the sun burning out. And yeah, I mean, people would worry about the sun burning out, but they also don't understand the implications of the sun, probably. So I think that this is, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of this. And if you're watching this later, let me know what you think about my theory on quantum. Is it actually a good thing for Bitcoin? Everybody's so worried about it. But just imagine a world where somebody could keep a coin in the same wallet for 100 years. That'd be bad. It'd be bad because it wouldn't be used. It wouldn't be being used as a medium of exchange. And I'm not saying people have to. I'm just saying I don't think we should be encouraging people locking up their Bitcoin forever and never moving it. That's the equivalent of gold to me. Bitcoin is so fucking powerful in so many ways. And that's why I say, like, as technology improves, all these old coins are forced to be moved. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Satoshi probably invented quantum too. I actually don't know who invented quantum. Anyways, did I miss anything there on the agenda that we had? I plan on doing an hour show today, so we're half an hour overtime. I will say this: if you enjoy my work here, if you enjoy this channel, and if you want me to keep going here, it requires some support. And one easy thing you can do is leaving a thumbs up on the show. Doesn't cost you anything. And the other thing I would say is, like, leave a comment under the show here. Let other people know. Help us grow the Bitcoin network. Help us grow Bitcoin adoption. For Team Bitcoin, leave a comment under this video today, just saying that you enjoyed it or you learned something for it or other people would learn something from it, because I find I do this anyways. I look at the comment section before I commit my time to watching a video. And so the one thing you can do if you don't have any ability to support the show financially or join the school community is just do that. If you got any value from the show today and have gotten any value from me in the past, that's a really easy way to do it. And the other way to do it is sending a zap, sending some sats to either Arnie Boy's wallet on screen here or to jor@rizful.com. It's pretty amazing. We don't have any sponsors on the show, which means we get to talk about whatever the hell we want. No sponsors, no filter. And the only way we can do that is through support. Support, both with likes and comments and also the financial side of things here. Alrighty. Casper and the Cat says, I was trying to set up my wallet to Satoshi. Not sure I'm doing it right yet. How come? What do you hung up on? Oh, guess I got to open that. Okay, where's my agenda here? Did we hit everything today? What the hell? So we looked back. We did our last ever fiat measurement. We did the official new measurement, which is in gold. What is Bitcoin really worth? Oh, yeah, this is the last thing I want to mention here. This is the last thing I want to mention. I just kind of came up with this idea the other day. But you know how everybody's like, download a PDF in my pinned comments and I'll send you, or leave your email address or leave a comment and I'll send you something. Nobody wants to be on fucking mailing lists. Realistically, how many people out there want to be added to another mailing list? If there was an option for me to leave and unsubscribe to 100 mailing lists, I would take that option today. So I'm definitely not going to ask you to do that. But I'm going to start doing something kind of new here. So what I'm going to do here is, instead of having a mailing list where I just flood your inbox with spam and junk and promotions, I'm actually going to set up a Lightning mailing list. So I'm going to have a spreadsheet here. I'm going to create a spreadsheet with Lightning addresses. And every once in a while, I'm not going to do this often, obviously, because it's going to cost me money. Every time I send out a email or a message, it's going to cost me sats. So what I'm going to do here, Lightning addresses, send me your Lightning address. If you want to be added to it, this is going to be basically you sending me an email with your Lightning address is essentially you saying, I'm okay with getting a message from you once in a while. So send me your Lightning address to 88sats@proton.me. Pretty easy one to remember. 88sats@proton.me. So I'm going to have this little directory of Lightning addresses that I'm going to keep on a spreadsheet. I don't need to know your name or your phone number or your anything, just your Lightning address. And I would say this, because Speed Wallet, I don't think it allows for, actually, I'm not going to say that because maybe they updated. I heard that they did. But I might send an email and just say, get a Rizful wallet or get a Coinos. So send me your Lightning address if you want to be added to my Lightning mailing list. And every once in a while, I'll send out a little message with some sats. So it's not like you're giving me your email and I'm giving you a PDF or something. If you send your Lightning address, I'm going to send you some sats once in a while with a little message attached to it. And again, I'm not going to do it very often because it's going to cost me sats to do it. So that's my idea here. So send me your Lightning address, 88sats@proton.me, and I'll add you to my directory here. It'll be a new spreadsheet in here with a bunch of people's Lightning addresses. So 88 sats, and maybe just put in if you've done it already, don't worry about it, but put mailing list or Lightning list. How about that? Lightning list in the subject line. And once a week or once a month or whatever it is, depending on what's going on, I'll send you a zap with it's kind of like Zapertising. So there you go. Lightning Network, just starting to educate myself on this stuff. So much to learn, enjoying it. Yeah, it's a game changer in the world. It is a game changer. Okay, it's 2:30. I got shit to do. I got some videos to record for Bitcoin School today. But I wanted to hop on here and talk through this stuff today. Wow, look at this. We got a big zap over on Nostr. Wow. From the commoner. And he says, use your Bitcoin, which ties perfectly into my quantum theory today, is that as technology improves, it'll incentivize people to move their Bitcoin. So we'll have a more accurate and known idea of the available supply of Bitcoin. So yes, use your Bitcoin. And that was, wow, 11,111 units of freedom there, which is the equivalent to, no, we're not going to say it. We're not talking about that anymore. 11,111 units of freedom there. Thank you, the commoner. That's a big boost. That was the biggest boost of the day today. Very much appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to hit the road here. Thanks everybody for stopping by today for this special show for the Bitcoin's birthday, Genesis block 17th anniversary. Today, at the block height of 930,757, the exchange rate for one Bitcoin is 20 ounces of gold, which is about 15 ounces of gold below the all-time high of Bitcoin. So that's it. Two things for you to do if you want to. Number one, send me an email with your Lightning address. I'll add you to my directory for the Lightning list. And number two, this is the last day to join our Bitcoin school. So I'm going to have links for everything I talked about and more in the pinned comments of this episode today. And that's it. Consider joining. I guarantee you, I made a guarantee on this before, and I'll say it again. If you go through the Bitcoin school course this year, 2026, and you don't feel you got enough value from it, I will give you 100% of your money back in Bitcoin. I think that this course is probably worth 10, 20, 30x what we're charging for it. Realistically, based on what you're learning from it, this stuff is invaluable. And again, going back, if you take this stuff seriously in 2026, it's going to set up your family for the next 10 years. Not 10 years, 10 generations. You can get your Bitcoin into a multi-sig, geographically dispersed. You have all the tools. You're more private. You have more conviction. That's going to carry your family for the next 10 decades. If you can do 10 minutes a day for 2026 and join our community and go through the Bitcoin school course, you're going to set up your family for 10 generations. That's my theory. So I hope you join us. And if you join tomorrow, you can join as well, but you'll be paying 3 times the amount. So thanks everybody. Thanks for showing up today. Big shout out to the commoner today for the biggest zap of the show. That helps a lot. Very, very much appreciate it. And Only Sat says, is this actually live? Yes, it is. Commoner said, what's up, Jor? Happy birthday, Bitcoin. Okay. So shout out to Nostr, shout out to the commoner, shout out to all the zappers today, and shout out to everybody who joined us on YouTube. If you are watching this later, I'll have everything that I mentioned in the pinned comments of this video. And if you have any opinions, if you think my theory sucks or you like my theory, then let me know. And the other thing I would say is in the comments, you know how we had that spreadsheet that says, if you think, where did that go now? If you think Bitcoin is worth this is what I want you to do in the comment section here. Let me know what you think Bitcoin is worth today based on this little chart right here. We got our 1-to-1 number, 1.5 million, if gold was equal to Bitcoin. So in the comment section below, just put a number. Put what you think Bitcoin is worth today, based on if you think it's worth less than gold, equal to gold, or more than gold. Alrighty. Happy Saturday, everybody. Hopefully we see you all in the Visionaries community at a nice low rate there. And if not, we'll see you on Monday morning for the ones who know where we're going to be. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.